YouTube, Kamen Rider here. Welcome to my review for Kamen Rider Revice episode 23. So, the continuation slash sort of conclusion to this two-part arc about the intro of our new form where Vice takes charge. The storyline isn't wrapped up though in regards to that form and resolving it, which is kind of nice. And I thought it was a solid episode. I have some problems with some of the pacing, but for the most part, solid. So to start off, we'll talk about like where we left off last week, which was Vice is like the one to come out of the D-transformation, and he's like the main host now because of this form. And Iki is in the speech bubble, and only Vice can see him, kind of like we stuck with Vice at the beginning of the series like that. Now, the end of the episode kind of ends on a cliffhanger of like, oh, Vice is evil now, and he's in control, and his true colors have come out. But they kind of almost play that for a joke at the beginning, where he's like, wait a minute, where's Iki? And that was actually kind of nice. Like, I have some slightly mixed thoughts on that in the sense that it's kind of anticlimactic and there maybe could have been something more dramatic there, as I thought maybe in addition to this device, like separating them in this way, that maybe it manipulated Vice's mind a little bit, but for the most part, it's just kind of played for a joke, and even like later when he's like, no, I'm gonna take advantage of being free, he's just trying to protect Iki from being experimented on. And with all that being said, even though I have some mixed thoughts on maybe there could have been more to it, I'm glad they went this way just because I get tired of those stories where you have a character that's set up like they can betray the characters and then they end up betraying them and it just feels really basic. And I like that in this case they didn't go for that and they didn't even really linger on that idea. But we'll put a pin in that for a second, and the next thing I want to talk about real quick is I actually almost forgot that we had the filler character of the week's storyline going on with like that comedy troupe and everything. And I'm sorry to those of you that might have cared about it, but I barely paid attention during that story. I honestly forgot that it was happening because there's so much else going on. The only thing I liked about it is it served for a little bit of parallels about the relationship between a duo. But other than that, after the conclusion of this multi-part arc, I couldn't help but think how unnecessary this storyline was. Really, I think the only concrete premise it served, in my opinion, that was in any way valuable was just giving them another monster to fight. But I feel that there's enough going on and enough villains going on that they very easily could have told the story and stories going on in this two-parter without bringing in a filler story of the week. At the very least, maybe they could have just done a lighter one that they didn't attempt to get you invested in, where literally the purpose was just to have a monster there. Mainly because I feel there's so much going on in Revice period that we're kind of beyond filler stories. I think Saber even mostly stopped doing it at this point. So I think after this, I'd really like to see us phase out more of the character of the week stories of the nonsense filler characters. But in particular in these last two episodes, as I mentioned last week, there's a lot going on. There's a lot of different plot threads. They're all interconnected to a degree, but there's a lot going on between Revice himself, Kaguro, and Daiki, the Sakura stuff with the mysterious organization, George investigating this mysterious stuff, and more, even with the other villains. There's like at least 5 different things I can think of going on. And I don't need to be focusing on these valueless filler characters we're never going to see again, and I think it just kind of muddled things a little bit. I think it threw off the pacing. I like how much there's going on because I'm interested in all of it, and I think it's interesting the way they're interwoven, but because there's so much going on, the last 2 episodes felt a little bit jumbled, and just adding in these useless characters took away from that. As far as the other stuff of substance going on, you do still have the mysterious group, and they kind of visit as this family at the Igarashi house, and it kind of drove home to me the point that they're kind of meant to look like a negative image parallel of the Igarashi family, which is kind of nice, because to a degree that whole family is like the protagonist, and to have one of the antagonists be this evil version, not like an evil version, just like another shoe, like this one. They end on the cliffhanger of them introducing him to the big boss, which is the guy in the mask, and that was really good. There was some good stuff there, some good stuff with kind of the conflict Sakura has of keeping the secret and whatnot. And there's also some really good stuff going on with Kaguro and Live and all that stuff. I forgot to mention that last week because I got so wrapped up in the storyline about Revice, but he's still talking to Kaguro, and this week when they get into a fight with Alteka and Aguilera can't take out Sakura, so Demons is going to do it. New evil Demons, Alteka's going to do it, but then he actually gets saved by Kaguro. Kaguro comes out and saves her and is like, well, I have to save her because I have to eat her curry. Not a euphemism, because that would be weird. That was definitely an interesting beat I wasn't expecting. I kind of hope they don't do any sort of Kaguro redemption. I mean, it's not like it would make an entire lack of sense, since Vice is a demon and he's also good, but I don't want it to be the same type of storyline, but I'll say that it's definitely an interesting wrinkle, and I do like that they've kept Kaguro around because I think it makes for an interesting, unique story for Daiji's character. Daiji or Daiki, I can never remember. I've heard it both ways. That being said, The first thing I thought of last week when he was talking to him in the mirror is like, how have they not addressed that this is a problem? He has like a demon in him that can seemingly just possess him at random times. How have they not even had a discussion about trying to fix that? Like this week they're trying to fix Revice for the 15th time, and it does bother me a little bit that this is kind of like a persistent problem they don't address. I'm glad the story's around. I'm eager to see where it goes, but I'm hoping they at least address that it's something that needs to be fixed. You also have some other little tidbits, like the continued partnership between Alteca and Aguilera and Sergio. What's his name? Sergio? Is it Julio? Julio. I keep on calling him Sergio. Julio. All these names. Julio finds out that the reason Aguilera sent him away was to protect him, and he gets emotional about that. The ultimate resolution of the Revice thing is it's not resolved yet. You know, he trusts Vice to go into battle at the end, but they still haven't figured out a way to fix this. It seems like from the preview there might be a negative consequence to them not being able to separate. Unfortunately, it's another, oh, the writer form's making a sick thing. But I also like that they didn't resolve it in this episode, and they're going to keep the dynamic going for a little bit. We'll see where they resolve it at, but I'll say that I actually kind of like the idea of them bouncing back and forth. Probably not constantly, but I like the idea of this form existing to have Vice in the driver's seat for a couple episodes, and I think that would have been something cool to continue, but we'll see where it leads. Overall, I thought this was a decent episode. I would say it's a 3 out of 5. There's a lot of good stuff going on. I just felt these last 2 episodes were a little bit jumbled because there was so much going on. As I mentioned, I think they could take out the filler of the week stuff, and I also feel that with how much is going on, they could maybe balance it a little bit and hold a couple things back. But what did you guys think of this episode? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, remember to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell. Notifications for my videos. It's Awesome Rider, signing out.